Hello, I'm Haley Perot, and this is Northwest Newsweek. Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa made history on Tuesday when he spoke OG Cree at Queen's Park. It's the first time in the province's history that anyone has addressed the legislature in an Indigenous language. Lee Noonan reports.
It's the first time in history the Ontario legislature has allowed an Indigenous language to be spoken there. Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa addressed Queen's Park in his native Anishinaabe, or Ojibwe.
We had a leader named Frank Birdie from Muskrat Dam that was told that they will never permit Indigenous language to be spoken in the provincial legislature. But today, it's allowed. It's a historical event.
The language is spoken across a large swath of northwestern Ontario. More than 100 people traveled from the region to Toronto to witness history in the making. For more than 10 minutes, the sounds of Anishinaabe filled the chamber as Mamakwa spoke about the significance of the occasion.
We receive strength in speaking our language, and it's like a healing medicine as we stand together, that we stand together as Indigenous people to continue fighting for our rights as First Nation people to speak our own native language.
Mamakwa's mother, who speaks only Anishinaabe, was present and able for the first time to understand his speech in the legislature. Elders like her were the focus of the first ever question asked in an Indigenous language during question period.
Well, the government finally come through on their 2018 promise to create 76 more long-term care beds in Sioux Lookout.
I went up to Sioux Lookout, and you remember I went up there, and I committed that I'm going to build that long-term care home. I'm committing today in the public, we will be building those beds. We'll be building a home for Sioux Lookout. So thank you.
Mamakwa hopes that by bringing Anishinaabe to Queen's Park, he might inspire more action on language revitalization, and that the federal and other provincial governments will follow suit and make space for Indigenous languages in their legislatures. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Some breaking news out of Nipigon this week regarding an archaeological discovery. Parks Canada officials confirmed that historic human remains were found on May 21st at the site of the future National Marine Conservation Area headquarters.
Red Rock Indian Band's on-site environmental monitor identified additional remains being uncovered at the construction site, which have now been confirmed to be the remains of an adult Indigenous male believed to have lived prior to the 17th century.
According to Parks Canada, work stopped immediately when the remains were discovered and the relevant authorities were alerted. The Ontario Coroner's Office made the determination that the remains were those of an Indigenous man they estimate would have lived there sometime before the 1600s. The work stoppage will continue as the area is assessed.
Depending on what's found, additional archaeological monitoring and/or environmental monitoring might be needed. Parks Canada is currently working with relevant authorities and Indigenous groups to assess the significance and the proper handling of the discovery.
No more information about the discovery is being made available. It's the second time in May that work has been stopped at the site of the $37 million facility. On May 8th, a bone was discovered but was later confirmed to not be human. Excavation work then resumed with an environmental monitor hired to oversee the project. OPP and Anishinaabe Police are investigating the death of an infant in Poplar Hill First Nation. On May 21st, the OPP's Criminal Investigation Branch was called to investigate an infant in medical distress. The child was later pronounced dead. The investigation is ongoing, and police say there is no threat to public safety. Meanwhile, a separate OPP death investigation dating back to the fall has been resolved. An Alberta man has been charged in connection to the death of a Long Lake 58 First Nation woman. The body of 41-year-old Kathleen Desmoulin was discovered on November 18th at the intersection of Highway 11 and Beaver Street. Police said she may have been struck by a vehicle that left the scene and noted the vehicle would have front-end damage and may be missing a side mirror. As a result of the investigation, 31-year-old Gurmeet Singh of Edmonton has been charged with failure to stop at an accident resulting in death. Singh was arrested in Saskatchewan last week. OPP in Nipigon and Scriber are being commended by the RCMP for their help and swift action after a man wanted for a murder in Alberta was arrested on Thursday. 37-year-old David James Sheetsma was the subject of a Canada-wide warrant for first-degree murder in the death of a man near Grand Prairie in March. OPP were first alerted to an incident in Gravel River near Nipigon. Officers then determined the suspect was driving a stolen vehicle. A spike belt was used and the vehicle was found near Sunset Drive, just west of Scriber. Sheetsma was arrested and will remain in custody in Nipigon until he's transferred to RCMP in Alberta. Ontario's official opposition is calling for the Ford government to make immediate action and address mercury poisoning in Grassy Narrows. It comes in the wake of new research that showed runoff from the Dryden Mill continues to exacerbate the problem. The study released last Thursday shows runoff from the mill is accelerating the rate at which mercury dumped in the English Wabigoon River in the 1960s and 70s is converted into methylmercury that accumulates in fish and ultimately people. NDP leader Marit Stiles and Deputy Leader Saul Mamakwa asked the government what concrete steps they will take, with Mamakwa implying a shutdown of the mill could be an option. Environment Minister Andrea Kanjan said ministry experts are reviewing the report.
Children, elders, poisoned under this government's watch. Studies, reviews, that's all we ever hear from this minister. What immediate steps is this government going to take right now to stop the ongoing mercury poisoning of the people of Grassy Narrows?
In Sarnia, where the Aamjiwnaang First Nation have been complaining of illnesses from benzene released from a nearby chemical plant, the ministry finally ordered the plant to cease operations until there was a fix. So it is possible to take the necessary action.
We've been working on it for quite some time with the Indigenous community towards the remediation of mercury contamination. We will listen to the subject matter experts. Ministry of Technical Experts will be on hand. A meeting is organized as early as tomorrow to ensure that there's a path forward on this, and we will take all of the necessary studies and all the necessary information in hand, Speaker, and we do take this very seriously.
Kanjan pointed to the province's ongoing work on the file, which included funding the recent study, and she said her government will leave it to their experts to ensure that swift action is being taken. A small protest was staged in Martin Falls First Nation this week. Organizers are upset with band leaders, saying they're more concerned with off-reserve members than those who live in the community itself. The demonstrators locked down the band office on Monday. Justin Hardy reports.
With the front door nailed shut and a barricade blocking access to the building's stairs, a small group of protesters settled in outside the community's band office to voice their displeasure over the state of administration. Among their grievances are claims of a lack of transparency, the failure to follow band policy and code of conduct, and alleged nepotism. Protest co-organizer Delia O'Keefe says those living on reserve are not being heard or considered by community leaders who are more concerned about off-reserve members.
They have the administration office out in Thunder Bay. The administration is not here in the community. And the council, a few council members, they live in Thunder Bay. They don't live in the community.
Martin Falls has a registered population of 887 members. More than half live off reserve. The start of the protest saw only a few members come out. However, Patricia Achnepiniscum expects support to continue to grow.
So people are just starting to come around and asking what we're doing there. And so we're there to stand up for our community, and we just want the best for our reserve.
The barricades were removed quickly by Anishinaabe police. Martin Falls Chief Bruce Achnepiniscum says he supports members' right to protest, but having the band office boarded up was a community safety issue. He notes all of membership is included in the general meetings and that all members have the opportunity to give input.
Yeah, we have a process where we get feedback from the community membership quite regularly on a quarterly basis. I think our last general meeting was this winter, January, which we have on and off reserve. We're well aware of our legal obligations to our members. So, we take that very seriously.
A general meeting was held on Thursday night. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
A serious workplace accident has occurred at a sawmill in Emo. It happened Tuesday at Manitou Forest Products and left a young man, Devin Potter, with injuries that are serious enough that they could lead to amputation. The Ministry of Labor confirms it was notified of an injury to a worker related to the use of machinery at the sawmill. A ministry inspector has been assigned to the case and the investigation continues. Potter's mother says the injury was around his wrist on his dominant hand and that he went to Winnipeg for emergency surgery. It's still unclear if the hand can be saved. A GoFundMe has been launched to help with Potter's medical expenses and his recovery. It's time now for a short break. When we come back, we'll meet the 2 new council members in Nipigon.
It feels wonderful to have a full council again.
The council table in Nipigon is full once again. A pair of township councillors resigned this spring, and 2 newly appointed council members were sworn in on Tuesday night. Justin Hardy reports.
Nipigon's 2 newest council members officially started their term in office after being sworn in at their first council meeting Tuesday night. Anne-Marie Cartwright and Greg Harper were both appointed to town council following the sudden resignations of Gordon McKenzie in late March and Catherine Sakamoto at the end of April. Nipigon Mayor Suzanne Kuko says she's excited to have the new councillors begin their duties and looks forward to having a more complete and effective council.
It feels wonderful to have a full council again. It's been quite a few weeks now where we've just had the 3 of us. There's a bit of pressure because that is quorum. So if one of us is unable to attend or is sick or something like that, we don't have quorum, we don't have a meeting.
Both councillors are coming into the job with a goal in mind. They each say that there are issues in the community that they want to deal with.
I'm on the Economic Development Committee too, and one of the things that we're really looking at is finding more ways for finding more housing for people in Nipigon. There are a lot of people, I know just from talking to people at my store, they come in, they'd love to live in Nipigon, but there's no place for them to live.
Cartwright is also a local business owner who hopes to represent the working class of the community. Greg Harper has served on previous councils for 20 years.
I'm passionate about the roads and our infrastructure, because that's one of the first things the citizens deal with on a daily basis. And so I like to see some of our roads fixed up and some of our infrastructure and stuff.
The 2 new councillors will serve until the end of the current council term in 2026. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
The Greenstone Gold Mine celebrated its first pour on May 22nd, and we recently caught up with the mine's general manager to get his perspective on the significance of the event. Eric Lamontagne says reaching their first gold pour was a huge achievement for the company and the staff. He says they were very proud with Greenstone municipal leaders and local First Nations representatives present to witness the accumulation of 17 years of work.
We started this from premier coal with the first drill hole in 2007. After that, the drilling was done in 2012. We started engineering in 2013, up to a feasibility study in 2016. After that, we moved it to permitting agreement with our partner, 2018, 2019, environment assessment, and construction started in 2021, and we finalized the construction 2024.
The mine is now operating 24/7, and Lamontagne says their next milestone will be to reach 60% capacity for 30 days, then 80%, and soon 100%. With the first pour, the first revenues are coming in, and the company can start to offset their construction budget of $1.3 billion US. Ontario provincial police officers and trainees from around the region have been involved in a week-long Indigenous culture training campaign. The program's aim is to better understand the diverse history and teachings throughout the 133 First Nations in Ontario. Jaden Billick has the story.
The week-long Indigenous Awareness Training course began with highlighting important Indigenous history. The OPP officers learned about residential schools, missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, and the history of Indigenous policing. Constable Bradley Scoyne spoke about the importance of this training.
Every day, our police officers and my colleagues in the Northwest region with the OPP interact with Indigenous people. So it gives us a better understanding of their backgrounds, maybe what challenges they may be facing, and how we can support and address those things. We also have civilian members of the OPP along with us here this week. That includes mental health workers, civilian analysts that work in finance, as well as special constables and cadets.
The program gives insight to important issues impacting Indigenous peoples and policing in Ontario. Members of the community throughout the week also discussed the treaties and social economics through Canada's history, a few of the many steps towards reconciliation. However, this week of training isn't only about history.
But it's also a chance for the officers to be able to sit in a circle and use that circle for their own wellness and spend this week together making friends, spending time together, and having a week that they can focus on their wellness as well. We bring in elders. We had a lovely elder, Mr. Pelche, came and opened the whole circle on a Monday morning, and he's from Fort William, so it's always nice to have community members come in.
All new provincial recruits within the Academy already do receive a component of Indigenous awareness training. However, this up-to-date training week is mandatory in each and every officer's career. Within the Indigenous Policing Bureau, highly trained educators were present to teach their first-hand experiences and knowledge passed from their elders during their presentations.
The program began in 1997, but since then has evolved greatly throughout the years, and as topics change, as things become more in the media and bring to the forefront, those are the topics that we tend to talk about and make sure that people that work within the organization, within the Ontario Provincial Police, have a complete understanding of history that maybe we weren't taught when we were growing up.
Organizers are thanking Fort William First Nation leaders for welcoming the group into their community, as well as giving them a space to facilitate their learning. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa was pressing the Ford government at Queen's Park this week in regards to Métis recognition. Mamakwa asked Minister Greg Rickford to listen to the concerns from First Nations and other groups and rescind the territorial demands of the Métis Nation of Ontario.
The Red River Métis, Inuit, and Ontario First Nations are calling on Ontario to retract its 2017 identification of the 6 new historic Métis communities in the Ontario region. There was never any consultation with First Nations to recognize these new communities and areas and across Ontario where Métis never existed. Will the minister explain why his ministry refuses to share evidence with First Nations about these so-called Métis communities?
I have met with the chiefs of Ontario as well as a number of Indigenous leaders, chiefs from across the province. I'm seized of this matter. There have been many discussions, and my ministry, as well as a couple of other ministries, are gathering information to provide for those chiefs at an appropriate time. Some of the elements of this matter are before the courts, Mr. Speaker, but we will continue to ensure that the interests from Section 35 rights and so forth of First Nations people in this province are preserved and protected.
Time now for another short break. When we come back, we'll have a video of a white moose along the highway near Uppsala. A Thunder Bay woman managed to capture a rare animal on video last weekend. Erin Manahan was among a group of people traveling through the Uppsala area when they spotted a white moose on the side of the highway. Manahan says it happened last Sunday. Their vehicle had slowed down due to another moose crossing the highway, and that's when they saw the nearly all-white moose in the woods behind the others. She says it was hard to miss. Along with the video, she also took this perfect photograph of the majestic beast. Manahan says they saw 13 moose along the highway that day, but she'd never seen one like this in her life. There have been several other white moose sightings in northern Ontario in recent years, including these two near Folliet in 2018. One of them was apparently shot by hunters 2 years later. So Manahan is being very careful not to divulge exactly where she spotted this one. A white moose is considered to be a sacred animal in First Nations culture. For the 9th straight month, the Thunder Bay 50-50 draw in support of the regional hospital has made somebody a millionaire. This time, it was Jeremy and Shauna Dart of Marathon. Jeremy got the call Friday morning informing him that they'd won more than $1.6 million.
We drew our winner number and we were trying to get hold of the winner, but we couldn't get a hold of him.
So are you telling me that we won the Thunder Bay Regional Lotto for May?
You did. Do you know how much you won?
Wow, that's unbelievable. How much did we win?
$1,627,738.
This is mind blowing. Do you want to know a story?
Sure.
Me and my wife, we celebrated our 25th anniversary on May 22nd, and that's the day that I bought the lotto ticket.
Well, you're a lucky man 2 times over.
When asked what they'll do with this windfall, the pair said they have some home renovations that are first on the list, namely a new kitchen. They just happened to be doing some shopping here in Thunder Bay and were able to pick up the big check in person. Tickets are now on sale for the June draw. A Halifax runner who is going across Canada to raise money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation was in the Northwest this week. Ryan Keeping says he was inspired by Terry Fox, so of course he made sure to pay a visit to the Terry Fox Lookout in Thunder Bay.
1, 2, 3, Terry Fox!
Around 50 local supporters and well-wishers came to the Lookout to meet the 26-year-old ultra-marathon runner, take photos with him, and cheer him on. Keeping began his journey in St. John's, Newfoundland on April 1st. He's running 75 kilometers a day for 99 days and plans to reach Victoria, BC on July 7th. He's already surpassed his fundraising goal of $100,000. Keeping has had many family members affected by heart disease, and he says the Heart and Stroke Foundation means just as much to him as raising money for cancer meant to Terry Fox.
Oh, Terry means everything to me, right? Like, I'm so proud to be Canadian when there's people like that from our great country, and for him to do what he did at such a young age with all the adversity in his life, it is absolutely incredible. And really in life, it doesn't matter how long you live, but you can make a huge impact if you live it right and you live it true to your heart and you know what you got to do, right? So he's a great example of just courage and guts, determination, so I've always looked up to him.
Keeping made it to Dryden this weekend. Thank you for joining us for Northwest News Week. We'll be taking a 2-week hiatus with new episodes resuming on the weekend of June 22nd.